Hey guys, Matt LaRosiere here with Firearms Policy Coalition, bringing you another weekly update, just to make sure you have all of the latest information on everything affecting your right to keep and bear arms. Our first bit of news comes out of Washington, D.C., where Attorney General Racine filed a lawsuit against Polymer 80 for selling allegedly illegal firearms and claiming their products were legal in D.C. Now, even if the court did have jurisdiction, Polymer 80 doesn't sell firearms. They sell products with the right amount of skill and effort you can convert into a firearm, right, along with other components. I thought we covered this issue with Josh Shapiro in Pennsylvania, but I guess DC wasn't paying attention. In Maryland, the state police announced that its firearms background check system has suffered a catastrophic failure. I mean, one aside from being instituted in the first place. The agency said that due to this failure, their ability to run background checks for regulated firearms, handgun qualification licenses, and carry permits has been disrupted. Now there's delays longer than the state's standard 7-day waiting period, which is not short. Of course, the state wants gun dealers to delay sales indefinitely while they fiddle with the system. The system that they put there in the first place, and the very same one they broke. Try telling one of your customers that you can't deliver because you hit the product with a hammer, but that you still really like to get paid. Of course, that's something you shouldn't do, but alas, government will do what it does. Violence, injustice, and delay. In California, 16 state attorneys general have filed a brief showing their support of California's ammo background check requirement. For posterity's sake, the AGs supporting this restriction come from Connecticut, Delaware, the District of Columbia, Hawaii, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Oregon, Pennsylvania, hey Josh, Rhode Island, Virginia, and Washington. Down in New Mexico, the mayor of Albuquerque has announced that the city is declaring all of the public parks school premises. With this declaration, the mayor is banning people from carrying firearms in those spaces. This is clearly the mayor trying to end run around the New Mexico Constitution, which forbids municipalities from passing regulations that affect the right to bear arms. It's a bold strategy. We'll see if it works out for them. You know, just when you think you've seen everything, according to a handful of journos writing in the Washington Post, the Atlantic, and some other places, it's because of private gun owners like us that police are casually beating and killing our fellow Americans. These people are citing a study that alludes that a higher prevalence of guns owned by civilians coincides with a higher rate of shooting deaths by the police. Now, the penthouse elites are arguing that in order to save ourselves from government tyranny, we ought surrender our arms to the government. Fascinating. Kind of sounds like a war we fought back in the 18th century, doesn't it? Anyway, I don't have to tell you guys that correlation isn't causation, and that what's more likely is that the police are sent to more dangerous neighborhoods, kinds of neighborhoods where people are also more likely to lawfully acquire firearms for self-defense. Not the same neighborhoods Shannon Watts and her gated community friends may be more familiar with. Now, because the police presence is disproportionately large in these neighborhoods, and because the police are tasked with the violent enforcement of piles of immoral and irrational laws, it's more likely that the heavy presence is what explains the coincidence between gun ownership and police brutality. Arguments like these expose anti-gun folks for what they are, a tyrannical class of blind aristocrats. So now we have news from Rhode Island, whose legislature just passed their, ghost gun bill. So what's the rub? Well, if you're outed for printing your own Freedom Seed dispenser, you could be sentenced to up to 10 years in jail or subject to a $10,000 fine. It shouldn't surprise you that my take is that the law is unconstitutional. There's a long history and tradition of home manufacture of firearms in this country, and there's clear First Amendment concerns, not to mention the obvious Second Amendment ones. But the Constitution means nothing to people who owe political favors to anti-gun groups, I guess. Well, that's all I've got for you this week, guys. Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like to know more, check out fpcnews.org, where you can find this week's edition and information on all of our legal and legislative efforts. If you think this content would be important to anyone you know, help us spread the word and tag them in the comments. If you want to join the fight with us, go to fbcaction.org and take action. And if you think this work is important, you can support us there too. Every little bit makes a huge difference. As always, keep your eyes on Firearms Policy Coalition, where we're keeping up the fight for all of your rights all the time. I've been Matt LaRosiere, and I'll see you real soon.